Awesome. Ryan Walker, really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and go through your story. Let's just start with your spring right now. How are you feeling so far this spring?
Feeling pretty good. Um, you know, able to dial in some things, mechanically and everything. Not necessarily anything new, just getting back into the rhythm of it and figuring out the right cues and whatnot. But it's been pretty good. Kind of like ready for the season to start. It's that time of year, you
Yeah.
know.
Is there anything in specific that you've been working on this spring, or is it just kind of getting back to where you were last year, getting ready for the season?
Just getting back to where I was last year. Yeah, not trying to do anything different. Just kind of go out there, be the same guy, do the same thing type. Um, you know, no real need to change anything up right now.
So let's go back to your story. You grew up in Arlington, Washington,
Mhm.
Arlington High School. We actually do a lot of Pacific Northwest sports coverage. You went to Washington State University. Walk us through your journey throughout high school, growing up in that area. What
Mhm.
teams did you watch? What players did you watch?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Arlington's a cool place. It's small, so like you kind of hanging out in the woods most of the time, bonfires, stuff like that. So I loved it. Um, big big Mariners fan. We'd go to Mariners games all the time. My dad worked for one of the minority owners. He
Oh,
took care of one of his properties, so we got tickets a lot. And so growing up watching watch Beltray and Ichiro and Felix. So those were kind of the guys I enjoyed watching as I was growing up, and yeah, that was kind of my only team. A little bit of the Cubs. My dad was in Chicago for a while as a kid, so I enjoyed watching the Cubs, but just mainly stuck to the Mariners.
Taking it back to the Washington State days, kind of go through the initial recruiting process for Wazoo. Did you have any other offers? Were there any other
Hmm.
schools you were looking at?
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, there were a couple other schools. Nothing crazy though. I mean, I think the other schools were Santa Clara, George Fox. Um, Santa Clara would have been cool, but they didn't have a criminal justice program when uh, when I was getting recruited. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. So it's kind of off the table, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, I've verbally committed to Washington State just after sophomore year. So everyone there wants to play in the Pac-12. So once I got that offer, I was like, I'm in. I know U of O wanted me to go visit. That's about all I heard from them, really. So, not a ton of offers, but got that one offer that I wanted. So, I was pretty happy with
and you
it for
played
sure.
infield and pitcher
Yeah,
throughout high school. So at what point
yeah.
did you commit to Washington State as both?
No, I just committed as a pitcher. Yeah, I
Okay.
still played both after that, just because I loved fielding ground balls and stuff like that. Um, but ultimately, yeah, knew going forward being a pitcher was going to be my best bet.
you know, Washington State, obviously a special place. During your time there, you came out of the bullpen, a couple different options. Um, at the time, what did you like doing more?
Definitely coming out of the bullpen. Yeah, it's more fun to go out for an inning and just letting it all eat. Not having to worry about having to last multiple innings. And the adrenaline rush is there for me in that moment. Starting was just not the same. Didn't really get that same adrenaline rush. It was hard to really dig into like my my inner pitcher, I guess you could say. So I kind of struggled in that role. So I think the relieving part is definitely more my gig.
So I actually played high school baseball with Ian Hamilton.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
so when you first were going to Washington State, I believe he was the closer at the time.
Yeah.
He ended up setting the WCU saves record for the university.
Hmm.
And then his senior year, he transitioned to a starting role. So how did that kind of overlap with your time there, and to where, since he moved to the starting rotation, that opened up the ability for you to close some games out?
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, like you just said, it provided some opportunity, and took advantage of it, um, and that's just kind of how baseball is. What the tough thing about the minor leagues and going through the system is like, you never wish anyone goes down, you never wish anything happens, but like when it does, that provides opportunity for you, and you just got to take advantage of it.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how it was. Is Ian got moved to that role, and so I try to take advantage of my next role coming up.
And then the rest of your career, walk us through that, and you end up getting drafted in the 31st round of the draft.
Yeah.
Now the draft is only 20 rounds, right?
Yeah.
So what was that experience getting your name called and so late?
Yeah, it was awesome. I expected not to get drafted. I had such a bad junior year, and then senior year wasn't great either. So, I was hoping for something. Teams were talking to me, so I guess I expected a little bit but I definitely didn't expect the Giants. They were the team I talked to the least, and they weren't even talking to me during the draft. So, once I got picked up, I was really excited. My dad was there. We were just, I don't know, I almost didn't know what to do or say. So it was cool, and being my girlfriend and now wife at the time, she's from San Francisco, so that was also a pretty huge blessing too. Just having her family there and being able to take advantage of that.
Seems like 2022 was a big year for you. We watched the video with you and JP Martinez, a fantastic, 20-minute video going through kind of your progression, but you found the velo in 2022, and in that video you said, hey, that was kind of my year to kind of hone it, kind of figure out, you have an extra 5 miles an hour. It's different, right?
Yeah, very different. That's what definitely propelled my career for sure. I needed to find something. I couldn't stick to throwing 90, 92. And it's not like I was even going out searching for it. I just happened to find the right guy, the right PT to get my mechanics to where they need to be, and then all of a sudden it came out of nowhere, so it happened at the right time for sure.
The other thing is you're pretty mild-mannered. Being in that closer role, you say, hey, it brings more of the emotion out. We like seeing the hand fists and a little emotion out of Mr. Walker. Talk about dealing with the closer role and the emotion and maybe some of the anxiety that might come with it, and how you deal with that.
Yeah, for sure. I always explain it as like my first save opportunity as the closer was like my debut. It's a completely different feeling, and you get extra adrenaline. But the good thing about it was being able to use that for your advantage instead of going out there all nervous and spraying the ball everywhere. So it's definitely more fun and challenging. It's a spot I want to be in. And man, if you can tap into that adrenaline and use it to your advantage, it helps out a lot. An example is like in spring, like I'm not necessarily a spring guy really. Like you won't see max velo in spring, not because I'm not trying, but it's just like it's a different feel here. It's more of like trying to get things figured out, and you're still trying to do a job, but once those lights turn on, it's a different ball game. Your body goes into super power mode or something. I don't know.
So you debuted in 23. Later on in 2024, you actually made your first appearance at Seattle. What was it like to go back to T-Mobile Park to play against the Mariners? 5 strikeouts in your 2 innings of work at that game. What was it like to do that in front of your family and friends from that area?
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, another game I was pretty nervous for because I knew I had tons of people coming.
How many?
Hundreds.
Wow. Okay.
There was, I had a whole section blocked off up top somewhere. And then just seeing the people I didn't know who were showing up. It was pretty incredible. Definitely one of the better experiences. Just going from sitting in the stands watching and then actually being on the other side of things was pretty awesome. So I would say that's one of the highlights of my career so far.
And then heading into 2025, what are your big goals? What are you looking forward to the most? Have they described like, hey, you're the traditional closer where you got the 9th inning, or is it high leverage situations? Have they kind of walked through that with you?
Yeah, I'm in the closer role, so that 9th inning mostly. Not to say there won't be a situation where, we have an issue in the 8th and we need one more out. I wouldn't be surprised if I go in for that one out and come out to the 9th. That's happened before multiple times last year. But yeah, I'm not, again, I don't really plan on changing much. It's just with the year I had last year, I don't know what else I don't want to change anything, you know what I mean? I just want to stick to the same routine, stick to the same way of play, and which are my strengths, and go from there, and if adjustments need to be made throughout the year, then we'll adjust then,
I know you're not a big stat guy, but we love looking at your baseball savant page. It's just 94th, 98th percentile in a lot of different things. And talk about just maybe kind of not looking at the stats and kind of continuing what you're doing, even though you're at the top of the the line in terms of breaking pitches and whatnot.
Yeah, I've always hated looking at stats. I just, I feel like once you start looking at stats, at least for me personally, you start chasing things or like you want this or you want that. It just makes it a lot easier for me not to even care about it. Take everything day by day. I'm here to play baseball. I'm not here to chase a stat or, whatever. So it keeps me calmer. I tried to chase a stat last year, even like when I was at 99 strikeouts. I'm like, I need that 100. And that's probably the main reason why I didn't get it, because I was chasing it, So stuff like that, it's not worth it,
You, quick question before he goes through his pitch breakdown.
Yeah. Oh, well, I was just going to ask, so a lot of teams look at, like, for example, at the Mariners bullpen, they're looking at each pitch, the spin rate, location, all those different things. So do you not look at the TV screen during your bullpens, or is there certain metrics that you are looking for on your pitch shaping at least, or is it all a feel thing?
I mean, I'll look at it in bullpens for sure, not necessarily spin rate, more so like tilt, hand positioning stuff, and obviously horizontal and vertical movement. But typically if I have the right tilt, then all that applies. So I'd say tilt is probably the biggest one I look at and really care about. Other than that, spin efficiency, spin rate, I don't really pay attention too much.
And for the Cougs and viewers back home, take us through your arsenal and kind of your grips with the baseball.
Oh, my huge arsenal of 2 pitches. It's very standard. I mean, I have a very standard 2-seam grip. So in college, I was actually here, so I was a no-seam.
Yeah.
So I didn't like feeling laces. I liked feeling leather. And I essentially just took it here to here. So it just made it a little bit more consistent. I still don't like to feel the laces, so I try and stay in between. I don't like to be on them. Got a lot more consistency that way. And then the slider, again, in college, I was more like on the side here. Again, it became a little inconsistent over time, so eventually moved it to right here a little bit more on the horseshoe.
That's one I see often.
Yeah, and again, keeping that tilt and keeping what we call the seat belt, essentially.
Yeah, the seat belt.
And keeping it within this range makes for what I got.
Well, Ryan, we're thrilled to watch your season this year. It's just been a fantastic story that's going to continue to keep going, and we really appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on,
Appreciate it.
guys. Yeah.
Thank you.